Sarasota County Bar Association is a proud partner in bringing you Law in Sarasota. With voluntary membership of over 900 lawyers and judges, the Sarasota County Bar Association is your community's leader in advancing legal professionalism, practice development, and public service. Visit www.sarasotabar.com for more information and to use the online directory list to find an attorney.
Welcome to Law in Sarasota. This program is brought to you by the Sarasota County Bar Association and underwritten by the Community Foundation of Sarasota. The Education Channel produces the program and broadcasts from its state-of-the-art campus on Beneva Road. They make this program possible. Lawyers serve in many capacities in this community. I'm sure many of us know lawyers who have served on boards, chair fundraising committees, organize walkathons and 5Ks for charitable organizations. They do this on their free time, outside of their role as counselors and litigators. And every now and then, lawyers come up with new ways to practice law for an underserved clientele or innovative ways to support the disadvantaged and needy in our county. Our guests today are two lawyers who have done this individually or with their firms. They've broken new ground in special ways. They've created a practice or a program never before seen in Sarasota. And they do it with little fanfare, quietly, and with unusual dedication and persistence. So let me introduce our guests. I'm going to do a brief introduction for each of them. We have Margaret Good and Michelle Stefan with us. Now, you both have lengthy resumes, but I'm just going to give a brief heads up on you, Margaret. You got your law degree from the University of Florida. You graduated cum laude from Gainesville, and you were editor of the Law Review, which is quite a distinction. I'd like you to describe your practice and also the practice of your firm, and then we'll get into this special project that you've been engaged in. So tell me about your practice.
I work for a firm called Matthews Eastmore in downtown Sarasota. We practice civil, business, and estate litigation. And we have 8 lawyers there, so we do all sorts of trial work. The firm has been in existence for 25 years. Lamar Matthews and Ted Eastmore founded it, and Art Hardy was one of the original members of the firm.
Well, tell me about this program you've got called 25 Acts of Kindness.
Well, this is our 25th year. We're celebrating 25 years this year, and when we started thinking about how we were going to celebrate that, we thought, a lot of firms and businesses, when they celebrate anniversaries, have parties. And we thought about that, but we wanted to do something different. And one of the things that our firm really is important to our firm is the community. And all of the lawyers in our firm are engaged with various nonprofits doing work or sitting on boards. And so we decided that we would do 25 acts of kindness, 1 act of kindness for every year that the law firm has been in existence.
So you picked out a project that was going to help some organization or some group of folks here in Sarasota. Give me some examples of those.
So there's 25 of them, so there's all sorts of things we did. I really like the projects that we did with the Brotherhood of Men, which is a nonprofit mentoring group in Newtown that provides guidance and life skills to young men to make sure that they are prosperous as they get older. They were taking a camping trip, and so we provided them with tents and with camping supplies. And they came to our office and met us, and that was a really great experience.
Did you go camping?
We did not go camping with them, no. We sent them on their way.
Is that a program Steve Batiste works with?
I believe so.
Steve? Yeah, he was a probation officer for many years.
Yes.
A juvenile probation officer. And also, how about the food bank?
Well, 50% of the students in Sarasota County are on free or reduced lunches, and so we have been really involved with the food bank. We've done 2 food drives over the course of the year, and then we've also done some backpack programs to make sure that kids have food when they're not in school.
How's the backpack program work?
Well, one of our partners, Keith Dubose, is very involved in the local community, and he and some of his friends actually have put together a backpack program in August that stuffs backpacks and gives them out at the Robert L. Taylor Center.
You actually buy the backpacks and you put stuff in it for
Yes.
the kids. That's great.
Yeah.
And how about, I happen to get a list here. I know you can't remember all of them. How about the Southeastern Guide Dogs?
Well, that's a really fun one because everyone loves dogs, and Southeastern guide dogs do such good work pairing guide dogs with people with disabilities. And every year they have a walkathon at Payne Park. So we all showed up on Saturday morning and walked the park and raised money for the guide dogs.
And I take it you haven't neglected the veterans.
No, we have not. And we did, through the Operation Gratitude, we sent care packages and letters to veterans, and the entire firm, staff, and lawyers got together in a conference room and wrote letters and talked about our family members that had served. And it was, one of the things that I really like about these 25 acts of kindness is not just that we're doing things for the community, but that we really get to do things with each other and become better friends and know each other better. So that was one of the happy outcomes of that project.
Well, I know those of us who are in the military serving overseas, to get those packages from home from total strangers, it means a lot to show that you care, and it's just a wonderful expression of your concern for what the work that they're doing. And how about the Special Olympics?
Well, one of our board members, Pat Crowells, serves on the board of the Haven, and her daughter has is developmentally disabled, and so they were very involved in Special Olympics as one of her daughter's favorite things. And so we got involved with the Special Olympics, and they had a swim meet, and we went and volunteered, helped with the swimming, gave out the medals, and that was a great morning.
Running the stopwatches and the whole thing, huh?
Exactly.
That's great. Well, and then I understand you dipped yourself in some paint. What was that project about?
Yes, well, so like Brotherhood of Men, my other favorite project, perhaps, although they're all great, was with Girls Inc. I love the work that they do to make girls into bold, strong, and smart women. And they needed some help painting a locker room. And so we all went in there in our painting clothes, and one of our paralegals, Trisha, organized it for us, and we painted their locker room.
So it's not just the lawyers, the entire staff gets involved with these?
Yeah.
And how many do you have on your staff?
There's probably about 16 of us all together.
And how about the Sela Freedom organization? Have you worked with them?
So Sela Freedom helps women who have been trafficked. And that's a wonderful organization. And after they have a house for women that are getting out of that life. And after the hurricane, they had a bunch of debris in their yard like everybody else did. And so that was a fun morning too. There were about 8 of us out there picking up sticks and dealing with the branches and the leaves that had come down during the hurricane.
Okay, and what did you do at Big Cat Habitat?
Well, they need a lot of interesting items, and so we are doing a drive to get the items that Big Cat Habitat needs to run their organization.
Also, after the hurricanes, you did some work getting donations for folks too. How did that come about?
Well, when a natural disaster like that hits, you really think about, we all feel it, and then you really think about the people that are already teetering on the edge of being able to support themselves and survive. It really hits them hardest. And so, we help Sela. We also partnered with Second Chance Last Opportunity because they were doing a lot of work in Newtown to make sure that people had food and were, all of their food in their refrigerators had gone bad because the electricity was out and they had used up all of their food stamps. And so we partnered with them to make sure that they had supplies.
I know one of our lawyers, Bob Turfs, got in touch with the Sarasota County Bar Association about a water filtration system for folks in Puerto Rico. Did you get involved with that?
Yes, we are part of that project as well. And then, we also were really concerned about what had happened in the Florida Keys. So we did a drive and sent some stuff down to the Florida Keys as well.
Well, that's an unusual project for any law firm, and it's just unusual that anybody would think of all those things that you've done. I think you're way past 25, though. You're close to it.
Yeah, we're going to probably exceed 25 by the end of the year, and I think we'll continue doing it next year because the lawyers and the staff have really enjoyed getting out in the community and spending time together and doing good work. And that was, one of the reasons that I decided to work at Matthews Eastmore was because of that sense of community and sense of family that we have there. And this has been a great way to celebrate it.
Well, that's great. So let me turn now to our other guest, to Michelle Stefan. Michelle, you've had a career helping clients who can't afford lawyers. I understand you attended Stetson Law School on a Florida Bar Public Service Fellowship.
I did.
And you earned the college's Pro Bono Service Award. You graduated from there, went in to practice about 20 years in a personal injury firm. Then you struck out on your own into a solo practice, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. You've earned a number of awards for distinguished community service, but last year you got honored with the Florida Bar's President Pro Bono Service Award. It's only given to the best of the best. It's kind of the Heisman Trophy of pro bono service, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, tell us about your work at Resurrection House and your organization or your firm that's called Legal on Your Own.
The Resurrection House is a resource center for homeless in Sarasota. It was organized back in actually 1985 by the Church of the Redeemer. And the story of how it got started is interesting because there was a group of parishioners who were having a meeting, and when the meeting ended, they went outside and the sprinklers came on. And out from the bushes came a lady named Joy. And at that time, I don't think anyone really understood the homeless issue in Sarasota. So Church of the Redeemer came up with the concept to help the homeless. The Resurrection House has seen about 33,000 homeless people since it was initiated. And on a daily and weekly basis, they provide resources such as showers, an address. That's one thing people don't really consider when they think about being homeless is you don't have a place to get mail.
And that's very important if you're getting benefits or government
Absolutely.
information, right?
Absolutely. They have a doctor, a lawyer, which is me. They have counselors. You can get shoes, clothing, pretty much any resource that you're looking for. I do a clinic on Tuesdays. It's called Legal Tuesday. And I help people with whatever legal issue they may have.
What's some of the examples of the issues these folks have?
Probably the primary thing I do is help with identification. Because in order to get a driver's license, you need to have a certified copy of your birth certificate. And pretty much every state requires that you have a valid ID to get your birth certificate. So as a lawyer, I can get the birth certificate, and through Resurrection House, we can issue a referral to the DMV, and people can get ID.
And how about folks that have disabilities? How can you help them get assistance?
You know, with the Social Security process, there's Social Security disability, and then there's supplemental security income. Lawyers cannot get paid for assisting in the first sort of ring of the benefit process. So what I do is I give people advice on how to be prepared going down to apply for their benefits. And if they are denied, then I have them come back and see me, and I will refer them to a lawyer in town who will take the appeal of the process.
And I don't need to say this, but you're doing this for free. You're not charging anything for that service. How about if they need help with child support issues? Does that come up ever?
You know, all family law issues come up. And at Resurrection House, there's there's really no difference in the legal services that the homeless need versus what everybody else needs. There are family law matters, divorce, paternity, modification of child support enforcement issues, and actually helping people with their family law issues is something that gave me the idea to start my new practice.
The Resurrection House is a day program, right? They don't have
Correct.
people staying overnight.
No.
What are their needs? If there's folks watching this program who have some resources that could donate items to Resurrection House, what sort of things would they need?
Well, one thing that's actually kind of fun to sort of accumulate and give are the little bottles of shampoo and soap and stuff like that you get at hotels.
So when people go on trips, they can collect those.
They can collect them and bring them in, because it's nice for the client at Resurrection House to have their own, hygiene supplies.
I imagine if they do give showers, they need towels.
Towels, certainly suitcases on wheels.
Really?
Are important because these people are carrying everything that they have with them. So that's important. Waterproof bags, of course, clothing, shoes. We're going into a chillier time of the year, so blankets.
Well, in case folks need to know where that is, it's at 507 Kumquat Court in Sarasota.
Yes.
And so they can drop off
Yes.
supplies there if they have those sort of things.
Yeah.
Tell us some examples of people you've helped. I know there was one client you had that was a hit and run and generated a lot of activity on your part. Tell us about that case.
There was a lady who was hit by a car on North 41, and the driver fled the scene. The police were called, and they found her, and she had obviously been injured, and they took her to the hospital. Unfortunately, she had uninsured motorist coverage. She had a car in another state, and the insurance was still active. So I made a claim under the policy. It took a little bit because I had to prove to the insurance company that she was hit by a car and not injured in some other way.
Like she fell down or something, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Which I was able to do through the assistance of an orthopedic surgeon in town.
I understand you got involved with the guardianship, too, for an unfortunate person that was living in a hotel.
There was a nice lady who was living in a hotel on North 41. I think it was one of the places where it was like $27 a day.
It wasn't the Ritz-Carlton.
No, and she was a frail, small lady, and it was not a good area of town for her. And she came into Resurrection House with probate papers where she had been left over $500,000. And the trustee of the trust was not using the money to her advantage. So I was able to work with some attorneys in town, O'Brien and Bennett, Lutheran Services, and a guardianship was initiated, and she is now in an assisted living facility getting 3 meals a day, happy and healthy.
You know, Margaret, isn't it amazing these things go on, and a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just so pleased to hear about that. Tell us about Legal on Your Own, how that works.
Legal on Your Own is a non-traditional law firm. In the legal world, there's sort of two segments. There's people who earn under 200% of the poverty level, and they can go to legal aid or to a legal services organization and get some services. The rest of the people have to hire an attorney, and generally you pay an upfront retainer of $3,500, $5,000, and then you pay on an hourly basis. And there's a group of people in between that can't afford to hire an attorney, yet they make more than 200% of the poverty level. So my firm is geared towards helping that demographic. The practice is a general civil practice. I do family law, landlord-tenant, general civil litigation. I'm also a Supreme Court certified civil circuit mediator and a family law mediator, so I do mediation as well. But the services are geared towards helping the person help themselves through the legal system.
One of the interesting things about your practice is how you work with unbundled legal services. Tell us about unbundled legal services and how that applies to your practice.
Unbundled legal services are basically piecemeal or a la carte services. And the way that I have the firm structured is I will do the legal work. In a typical case, there's a lot of legwork, there are telephone calls that can be made, there's things that the client can do themselves that they don't have to pay for. So I can do things like, in a family law case, I can help somebody file the paperwork or prepare the paperwork to file to get a divorce. I can help somebody with their paperwork that's necessary to respond to a divorce. So I can do the drafting for them. In my initial consult, I try to educate the client on what they're dealing with. What does the law say? What is the process? What can they expect through the court system? So the way that they would pay is they would pay a fee initially when things get started. And then as the case progresses, if they need further legal assistance or when it comes that time in a case, they can come back in and see me again and pay another fee.
It's kind of pay as you go.
It is pay as you go.
So for example, a person is in the process of a family conflict and they're sent to mediation. They could hire you just to assist them in the mediation.
Yes.
And they could hire you also to help prepare a settlement agreement, to work out the terms of their agreement between the other side?
Absolutely. And with settlements, I can do it two ways. I can act as a lawyer and I can give legal advice to somebody, or I can act as a mediator. And my family mediation practice is geared towards pro se litigants or people without lawyers. And in that process, I can sit down and I can help the parties come together to reach an agreement before they even file, so that the dissolution process is as streamlined as possible.
What are the typical types of cases you get with unbundled services?
It's primarily family law, and it's paternity, dissolution, supplemental proceedings, child support issues, restraining orders. I do landlord-tenant.
Explain that, a landlord-tenant. What types of cases are those?
Landlord-tenant is when you have an issue with your lease. If you have a lease or if you don't have a lease, if there's a housing issue, that the law specifies, certain things that the landlord is required to do, and usually there are certain things that the tenant's required to do. And if there's a dispute, I can assist with that.
Will you actually go to court and represent a tenant?
I will if that's what I'm hired to do. I do what's called limited scope representation. So I could be hired to go and handle one hearing, like I could be hired to handle a mediation. I can be hired to do as much or as little as the client needs.
And so what you do is you prepare a contract basically that limits your services. The client is advised that if you enter into this arrangement, your services end at a certain point.
Correct.
And then if they want to come back and extend that service, they get a new contract.
Correct.
And perhaps a new fee that they would give to you to help do that work, which is a lot cheaper than, most people think you hire a lawyer for the whole case.
And in most cases you do. And if I do see a situation that's not conducive to this type of representation, then I'll certainly let the client know and I'll refer them to another lawyer in town.
You talked in terms of being a mediator and also an attorney for folks. What is the role of the mediator as opposed to that of the attorney?
As a mediator, you're a neutral, so you don't represent either party. You can use your experience, you can use your legal knowledge to guide people to come to an agreement, and you do that really through asking questions.
Well, I can tell you as a judge, now retired judge, we really enjoy the idea of people doing mediation before they go to court. Margaret, I don't know if your firm does that or not. Do you try to do some of that yourself?
We do.
And do you have people in your firm that mediate also?
Occasionally Lamar Matthews and Art Hardy will mediate.
Yeah, I think you've been representing the school board for a number of years. You probably do some work there.
Yes.
So in the mediation, you're basically trying to get people to agree to a reasonable solution that saves them from having to go through the cost of litigation.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
And I think you would probably enjoy that work.
I do. And I think in family law especially, it's good for the family because when a case goes into litigation, emotions get higher, the process takes a long time, and if you can preempt it, come to your agreements fast, I think it's better for the clients and for the family.
You know, I don't know of any other firm that's doing what you're doing as legal on your own. That's really an innovative concept. Do you know other people doing that, or are you pretty much the only one?
I know that there are other lawyers that do unbundled legal services. I don't know of any other firms that are doing it kind of full-time as I am.
And so you're doing that, you're doing your work at Resurrection House, and that's amazing.
I do.
Well, I don't think we had too much more time today, but if there's any closing comments, Margaret, you'd like to make about your project, you think you may do it next year too?
I think so. There's so many more acts of kindness that we want to do, and so I think we're going to continue it on into 2018.
So thank you, Margaret, for all the work you're doing and your firm's doing. It's an extraordinarily unusual project that you have. And thank you, Michelle, for all the work that you're doing. And we hope that you'll be able to continue in that for many years. In closing, I hope our viewers will agree. These lawyers have found unique ways to benefit our community. They devote time and energy during and outside of work hours to make Sarasota a better place to live. They join other members of the profession who make this county the special place it is and whose contributions transcend the usual practice of law. Thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Michelle, for all the work you're doing, and thank you, our viewers, for watching this program today. Lee Hayworth signing off.
For more than 36 years, the Community Foundation of Sarasota County has worked one-on-one with estate planning attorneys and their clients to make a lasting impact through philanthropy. Stable, trusted, and knowledgeable, the Community Foundation safeguards the charitable legacies of donors to ensure that they continue for years to come. Visit www.cfsarasota.org or call 955-3000 for more information.